Welcome to my channel. Subscribe and enjoy daily stories about cheating, revenge, and relationship advice. The front door creaked open, a sound I once found comforting but now echoed through the empty halls like a death knell. As I stepped inside, a sense of foreboding clung to the air, thick as the dust gathering in the corners. I was home, but it felt more like a house in disarray, the walls closing in on me. The usual aroma of fresh coffee mixed with the faint scent of lavender from the candles Emma loved was gone, replaced by something stale and heavy. The living room lay in disarray, a suitcase sprawled open on the floor, clothes peeking out like desperate pleas for attention. My heart raced as I crossed the threshold, dread pooling in my stomach. "Emma?" I called, my voice barely above a whisper. The house felt cold and unwelcoming, each step heavier than the last. I found her in the bedroom, standing by the closet with her back turned to me. She was shoving clothes into the suitcase with a fervor that sent shivers down my spine. "I can't believe you're actually doing this," I said, my voice trembling. She turned slowly, her eyes darkened with resolve, yet there was a flicker of something else, guilt, perhaps. "I have to, John. I can't keep living this way," she replied, her voice steady but hollow. "Living what way?" I shot back, frustration bubbling over. "You mean being married to me? What exactly do you think is waiting for you out there?" Emma's jaw tightened, and she took a deep breath, as if steeling herself against my words. "You don't understand. I can't endure this marriage anymore." "Endure? Is that what it's come to? You're willing to throw everything away for, what? Happiness?" I could hardly choke out the last word, the bitter taste of irony lingering on my tongue. "Yes. Happiness, John." "Something I haven't felt in a long time," she retorted, a hint of anger rising in her tone. "I've spent years trying to make this work, but I'm done. I deserve more. More than our life together." I gestured around the room, my emotions threatening to overflow. "This is what you want? To just pack up and leave?" "I'm not just leaving, I'm taking back my life," she shot back defiantly. "And if you cared to listen, you'd realize how much I've put up with." "Put up with? Like what, Emma?" "Me working long hours to provide for us. You know how hard I've tried." My voice echoed through the house, a reflection of the chaos unraveling inside me. "Trying isn't enough anymore," she said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I need someone who can give me what I'm missing, and that's not you." "Who is he?" I demanded, my stomach twisting at the thought of her betrayal. "Who's this person who can give you what I can't?" "Jake," she said quietly, the name hanging in the air like a noose. "I'm leaving with him." The room seemed to spin as I absorbed her words. "Jake? The guy from work?" My mind raced, images of him, cocky, charming, flashing before my eyes. "You've been seeing him behind my back." "Not behind your back. I've been trying to figure out how to tell you," she admitted, her voice trembling now. "Trying to figure out how to tell me you're cheating." "Spare me, Emma." I felt rage boil within me, my fists clenching at my sides. "You're stealing my life away, and you have the audacity to pretend it's about happiness?" "This isn't just about you," she shouted back, her own anger rising. "It's about me, for once." I stood there, my mind racing, grappling with the enormity of her betrayal. "You're making the biggest mistake of your life, Emma. You think he's going to treat you better? You think he's going to love you the way I did?" "Maybe he will," she replied defiantly, her chin held high. "And you know what? I'm done fighting for a marriage that feels like a prison. You think you can just walk away from all we built?" I gestured at the walls that had witnessed our love, our struggles, and now this. "I'm taking what's mine," she said, moving toward the suitcase, her hands shaking as she continued to shove clothes inside. "If you want to make this difficult, that's on you." A heavy silence fell between us, punctuated only by the sound of her packing. I felt hollow, the weight of betrayal settling deep in my chest. It was surreal, watching the woman I once adored strip away our life piece by piece, as if it had never mattered at all. "Do you even care what this will do to us?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. Caring hasn't been enough, she replied, her voice low and firm. It's time for me to take control of my life. I stood frozen in place, watching her walk away, my heart breaking in ways I never thought possible. The air in the house was thick with tension, a silent battle raging between us. Emma continued to pack, the rustle of fabric filling the void left by our shattered conversation. I felt like a ghost, hovering in the doorway, watching my life unravel before my eyes. My heart pounded in my chest as I stood frozen, replaying her words in my mind. Just as the silence threatened to engulf me, the doorbell rang, a sharp, jarring sound that shattered the heavy atmosphere. Emma paused, glancing toward the door, her expression shifting from determination to something almost guilty. "Is that him?" I asked, my voice laced with disbelief. "Just stay calm, John," she said, her tone a mixture of irritation and apprehension. "This doesn't have to be a scene, stay calm. You think I'm just going to stand here and pretend this is normal?" I shot back, my pulse racing as I stepped closer, the urge to confront this man overwhelming. "He's the one who's ruined everything. I'm not ruining anything. I'm taking control of my life," she retorted, but I could see the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "I hope you're ready for what's coming," I muttered under my breath, unable to contain my anger as I marched toward the door. As I flung it open, there he stood, Jake. He was leaning against the frame, casual confidence radiating off him like a shield. He looked every bit the picture of arrogance, with his disheveled hair and an easy smile that made my stomach churn. "Hey, babe," he called out to Emma, his voice dripping with familiarity. "Don't call her that," I snapped, my fists clenching at my sides. Jake turned, his smile faltering as he sized me up. "Whoa, man. Chill out. I'm just here to help Emma, help her. Is that what you call it?" I spat, stepping forward. "You're not helping her. You're tearing apart everything we built together. Look, this isn't about you," he said, waving a dismissive hand. "Emma deserves to be happy. You should be grateful she's found someone who understands her." "Understands her? You mean understands how to take advantage of her?" I couldn't hold back the bitterness in my voice. "You're just using her to fill some void in your pathetic life." Emma stepped forward, her voice shaking. "John, please. This isn't helping." "Then maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to destroy our marriage." I shot back, the words spilling out in a rush of anger. "Can we just keep this civil?" Jake interrupted, his tone shifting to one of annoyance. "Emma and I are starting a new chapter, and you need to accept that." "Accept? You think I'll just roll over and let you waltz in here and take my wife?" I felt the heat rising in my chest, the reality of the situation pushing me closer to the edge. "Enough, John," Emma said, her voice now sharp. "I'm done fighting. I'm taking my things and leaving with Jake. You need to deal with it." "Taking your things?" I echoed, incredulity bubbling to the surface. "You're taking everything that was ours and pretending it's just yours. This is madness, Emma. Stop it, both of you," she shouted, her frustration boiling over. "I've tried for so long to make this work, and you're not even listening to me. I'm tired of feeling trapped." Jake stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder, as if to comfort her. The sight ignited a fire in me that I couldn't control. "You think you can just come in here and play the hero?" I said, my voice low but charged with fury. "Honestly, you should thank me," Jake said with a smirk, his confidence radiating like a beacon. "I'm giving her what you never could." "Which is what, exactly? A life of lies and deceit?" I asked, my voice dripping with disdain. "Just back off, man. You're making this way harder than it needs to be," he shot back, his bravado slipping for a moment. I stood there, my heart racing as I watched Emma lean into Jake's touch, her resolve solidifying. "You think this will end well?" I asked, desperation creeping into my tone. "You think he'll make you happy?" "Maybe he will," she replied, her voice steadier than before, though I could see the cracks forming. You're not the one who gets to decide that anymore. John, please, she added softly, looking at me with a mix of pity and determination. I'm doing this for me. I took a step back, the reality of her words crashing down on me. And what about us? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. But she had already turned her back on me, returning to the suitcase, her focus now solely on the life she was choosing to leave behind. As I stood there, watching the two of them conspire against me, the last remnants of our shared life unraveling before my eyes, I felt a fire ignite deep within me. I would not let this go unanswered. I would uncover the truth behind Emma's betrayal, and when I did, I would make them pay. The days following Emma's departure blurred together in a haze of disbelief and anger. Each time I walked through the house, the echoes of our shared life felt like a cruel joke. I could still hear the laughter, the late-night talks, and the dreams we once shared. Now, those memories were tainted, shadows haunting me at every turn. But I refused to let despair win. I turned to Lily, my business partner and one of the few people I trusted. She was sharp, resourceful, and had a knack for digging up the truth. I needed her help to uncover what Emma and Jake were really up to. Lily, I need you to dig into Emma's finances, I said, my voice steady but filled with urgency. We met at our usual coffee shop, the ambient chatter a distraction from the turmoil swirling in my mind. Are you sure that's a good idea? Lily asked, her brow furrowing as she took a sip of her coffee. You might not like what you find. Right now, I need to know. I can't just sit back and let this happen. She's taken everything from me, and I need proof that this isn't just some fling. Lily nodded, her expression softening with sympathy. Okay, let me see what I can do. I'll pull her bank statements and transaction history. If she's been hiding anything, I'll find it. Thanks, Lily, I said, the weight of my gratitude palpable. I just need to know if this is all part of some bigger scheme. Leave it to me, she replied, her eyes glinting with determination. That evening, I sat alone in our empty house, the silence amplifying my thoughts. I picked up my phone, scrolling through Emma's last messages, trying to find any clue that might shed light on her actions. As I stared at the screen, a thought struck me. It wasn't just about Emma and Jake. There had to be more, something deeper than their twisted romance. The next day, Lily called me, her voice serious. John, I found something you need to see. What is it? I asked, my heart racing. I have Emma's bank statements. You won't believe what I found. She's been siphoning money from our joint account for months. There are transfers to an account that isn't yours. I felt a cold rush of anger wash over me. How much are we talking about? Thousands, John. It's not just pocket change. And the account she's transferring to? It belongs to a shell company. A shell company? My mind raced. What does that even mean? Is she laundering money? Possibly, Lily said, her tone grim. I'm still tracing the details, but there's definitely something suspicious going on here. You need to be careful. I'm not backing down, I replied, my resolve hardening. I need to find out who else is involved. This is bigger than just Emma. After hanging up, I sat in a haze of anger and disbelief. Emma had turned our lives into a facade, and I was determined to tear it down. I spent the next few days going through everything I could find, old emails, receipts, and anything that could provide insight into her plans. It was exhausting, but I had to know what was at stake. A week later, I found myself at a bar I'd visited countless times before, but it felt different without Emma by my side. As I nursed a drink, lost in thought, I spotted a familiar face, Melissa, Jake's sister. She walked in, her posture confident yet guarded, and I felt a twinge of anger mixed with curiosity. What was she doing here? Mind if I join you? She asked, sliding onto the bar stool beside me. Isn't this a bit awkward for you? I shot back, my tone sharper than I intended. Awkward? She raised an eyebrow. Maybe for you. I'm here to find out what's really going on. Really? I replied, surprised by her candor. And why would you care? Because I've been hearing things. Jake's been acting shady since he got involved with Emma. I want to know the truth too, she said, her voice steady. I leaned in, intrigued. What do you know? Let's just say Jake isn't the nice guy he pretends to be. He's involved in something bigger, and I think Emma's just a pawn in his game. Why should I trust you? I shot back, skepticism creeping in. Because I'm tired of my brother using people to get what he wants. I've seen how he manipulates others, she said, her voice filled with a mix of frustration and resolve. He's not in this for love, he's in it for control. And I can help you get to the bottom of this. I studied her face, searching for any sign of deceit. What's your angle? My angle is family. He's ruining lives, and I won't let him destroy Emma too. A silence hung between us, the weight of our shared understanding solidifying our uneasy alliance. If you're serious, I could use your help, I finally said. Lily found that Emma's been siphoning money from our accounts to some shell company. I need to know who's pulling the strings. Melissa nodded, her expression fierce. Then let's work together. I know some of Jake's associates. They're not exactly the trustworthy type, but they might have answers. Let's do it, I said, determination flooding through me. I'll find out the truth, no matter what it takes. As we plotted, I felt a strange mix of anger and purpose rise within me. I was no longer the victim in this story. I was ready to fight back, to unravel the web of lies Emma had woven. With Melissa's knowledge and Lily's resources, I was on the path to reclaiming my life and exposing the betrayal that had shattered it. The following days blurred into a whirlwind of investigation, tension, and a relentless pursuit of truth. With Melissa on my side, I felt a flicker of hope ignite amid the chaos. We met every evening at a small cafe, poring over information and piecing together the puzzle of Emma and Jake's deceitful machinations. Okay, so we know Emma's been funneling money, and Jake's got connections, I said, tapping the table with my fingers as I leaned forward, my coffee cooling beside me. But we need something concrete. A name, a location, something we can use to expose them. Melissa nodded, her brow furrowed in concentration. I've got a lead. One of Jake's friends mentioned a meeting at a warehouse on the east side of town next week. They're dealing with something big, and if we can get in there, we might find out more about what they're up to. I leaned back, considering her words. A warehouse? You think they're laundering money there? Could be. It would make sense if they're using it as a front. But we need to be careful. Jake's not the only one who's dangerous. His associates are involved in some pretty shady business. My heart raced at the thought of getting close to Jake and his crew, but I was resolute. If we're going to do this, we need a plan. We can't just walk in blindly. I agree, Melissa said, her tone shifting from concern to determination. We should scout the place first, gather intel, and see who's coming and going. Right. We need to be inconspicuous. If they see us, we could blow everything, I replied, my mind racing with possibilities. Let's meet there tomorrow night, Melissa suggested, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. We'll keep our distance and see what we can find. Good plan. And we should also prepare ourselves for a confrontation, I added, a wave of anxiety washing over me. If it comes down to it, I won't let them get away with this. Neither will I, she replied, her voice steady and filled with resolve. This isn't just about Emma. It's about justice for everyone who's been affected by their lies. The next evening, we arrived at the warehouse, the sun setting behind us, casting long shadows over the derelict structure. The area was poorly lit, and the faint sounds of machinery echoed from within. My heart raced as we approached, a mixture of adrenaline and fear coursing through my veins. Stay close, Melissa whispered, her eyes scanning the perimeter. We need to find a place to hide where we can observe without being seen. We crept around the side of the building, finding a stack of crates that offered a modicum of cover. From our vantage point, we could see the entrance and a few cars parked outside, one of which I recognized as Jake's. My stomach churned at the sight, anger bubbling up again. Look, Melissa murmured, pointing toward the entrance. There's Jake and a couple of other guys. They're meeting with someone. I squinted into the dim light, trying to make out the figures. One of them was a large man with a shaved head and tattoos snaking down his arms, a muscle-bound enforcer type. That's not good, I muttered, my voice barely above a whisper. Do you recognize the other guy? Melissa asked, her eyes narrowing in concentration. No, but he looks like trouble. I felt the familiar knot of anxiety tighten in my stomach. What do we do now? Let's listen in, she suggested, her tone firm. If we can catch anything that sounds incriminating, it could give us leverage. We leaned closer, our breaths held as the conversation drifted toward us. I told you, we need to move this shipment quickly. The longer we wait, the more risk we take, Jake's voice carried through the air, laced with frustration. Relax. No one knows about this place. We're safe here, the tattooed man replied, crossing his arms. Just get the cash flowing, and everything will be fine. I'm not worried about the cash, I'm worried about Emma snooping around, Jake snapped. If she figures out what's really going on, we're screwed. My breath caught in my throat at the mention of Emma's name. What do they mean by snooping around? I whispered to Melissa, my mind racing with possibilities. I don't know, but we need to find out, she replied, her voice tense. Let's move closer, I suggested, adrenaline surging. We can try to get a better listen. Just as we started to creep forward, a loud bang echoed from inside the warehouse, causing us both to freeze. The sound of shattering glass filled the air, followed by angry voices. What the hell was that? Jake shouted, his frustration palpable. Get in there and figure it out. The tattooed man surged toward the entrance, his expression darkening. You're not paying me to babysit your girlfriend, Jake. If she's here, I'll deal with her myself. Don't you dare touch her, Jake hissed, his voice low but filled with menace. I won't let anyone ruin this for us. Us? I whispered incredulously, my anger flaring anew. This is about Emma's life. Let's get back, Melissa urged, grabbing my arm as we moved stealthily away from the entrance. We need to regroup and figure out our next steps. This is bigger than we thought. Agreed, I replied, my mind racing. We need to expose them before it's too late. As we made our way back to the car, the gravity of our alliance settled over me. Melissa wasn't just Jake's sister, she was a potential ally in a battle against the very people who had upended my life. The road ahead was fraught with danger, but I felt a renewed sense of purpose. We would take down Emma and Jake, and uncover the truth behind the deceit that had shattered my world.